right now. And if you have to leave the webinar before we're done, not to worry, everyone who registered for the webinar will receive a copy of this. And we're just going to give folks a moment or two to gather. And thank you for participating. If you do have questions along the way, please do feel free to put them into the Q&A at any time. We will make sure that we answer your questions before we end the call today. So we'll just give people another minute or two, and then I'll do some introductions for our wonderful panelists. So just once again, if you're just joining us, we are recording this webinar. So if you aren't able to stay for the whole time, you will receive the recording since you registered after the call. And we also encourage you to put your questions into the Q&A throughout the call. Our wonderful panelists will be able to answer them after our presentations here. And we'd love to hear what you think about Floreo's AI lessons or anything related to our topic today. Okay, so by my clock, it's 1:02. So why don't we go ahead and get started? And I'm sure people are going to trickle in as we're going along here, but I want to be respectful of everyone's time. Thank you everyone for joining us today. We're so excited to be hosting our first Meet the Developer webinar with our friends from Fitness for Health. I'm Heather, I'm Floreo's Director of Customer Success, and I am so pleased and delighted to introduce our panelists for today. First, John Miller is one of Floreo's engineers and game designers. He brings our therapeutic concepts to life through our immersive virtual reality experiences. He's always seeking to combine purposeful design with fun. His work combines creativity and impact to help make therapy more interactive, inclusive, and effective. And now for our friends from Fitness for Health. Mark Sickle is the founder of Fitness for Health in Rockville, Maryland, a cutting-edge therapeutic and fitness center dedicated to helping individuals of all abilities achieve their full potential. He's a certified athletic trainer with decades of experience, and Mark is known for his innovative approach to integrating technology and movement to support motor development, coordination, and confidence in children and adults alike. And Luke Lawal is a dedicated certified occupational therapy assistant at Fitness for Health, where he combines his passion for movement and innovation to support individuals with developmental and physical challenges. With a background in therapeutic exercise and a commitment to inclusive care, Luke helps Fitness for Health's clients build strength, coordination, and confidence through engaging, customized programs. So we're going to start off with a little presentation from John before we open up the panel to both Luke and Mark to talk a little bit more about their experiences. So John, take it away.
Hey everyone. Okay, sorry. I thought I might not be on camera. Yeah, so I wanted to talk a little bit about what we've been focusing on with respect to our content for the past year or so. Um, and that's learner agency, which is basically giving more tools to the learner to direct their own experience and therefore be more immersed in the content. It's kind of like maybe if you're in a car, you're going to be paying more attention if you're driving the car versus if you're a passenger. And I think because we are building VR games, we can use that to get a more like engaging, more fun thing happening. So I'll just show a few examples um, about some of the specific features we've developed about that. So let me just share a screen here. And play a video and I'll talk over it. So everyone see this video of looks like a park with maybe a pink arrow in front of you? Awesome. So here, just pause it for a second. This is a card we released a few months back. And right now it's not super important what the objective of the card is, but I just want to highlight that you can choose who you want to talk to first because of these new player movement markers, is what we're calling them. And so here I've chosen to talk to Ayana first. Um, and in this lesson, you have to talk to everyone. That it doesn't really matter who you talk to first, but because you're talking to someone, because you're choosing who you're talking to first, it makes the player think like, who do I like the most? Who do I want to talk to? And that draws the player in, versus just lining them all up and just having you ask each one. And I think we're going to be using that to let the player roam around more. And yeah, anyway, I don't want to dally too long on it. Let's jump into the next example. So here we're picking up some milk, and then we're going to go over to the fridge. And then we're going to put the milk in the fridge or the freezer. And the reason this is important is because if we just tell the player milk goes in the fridge, then they don't really have to think about it as much. Whereas if you're picking, and that's what I'm showcasing here, you're choosing where to put the milk, then you have to think about what is milk? Where does it belong? And that, for someone learning this kind of thing, that's important. So this feature here, we're calling it learner decision. And it's basically a way to be able to select in any situation, be able to have a place to select a choice without, say, having to tell the coach your choice. Floreo veterans know that that's how it, is, right? So yeah, another way. And then thing we're most proud of because it is brand new. Um, don't want to give it away with the title here, uh, but we are creating something called the very beginnings of avatar selection. So here you get to choose what you look like and what you sound like. That button there plays the voiceover of the sound. It's all muted so that it doesn't interrupt me. And there you go. So right now, this is just going to be in one lesson, but I think somehow, someday, we'll incorporate it everywhere. And I'm not going to try to explain why that's important, but you can just look at basically every product and just you'll see that being able to customize your own appearance, is just somehow fundamental to human nature. So very hyped about that. And the overall point is, I could just keep playing the video, I guess. The overall point is that we are really trying to get engagement, meaning how engaged and immersed and interested the learner is in the experience itself. Um, so yeah, that is my mini presentation. I'll pass it back to Heather.
Thanks, Sean. So, Luke, Mark, can you tell us a little bit about Floreo at Fitness for Health, your experience so far, how you use it in your sessions, and anything else that you think would be helpful for our audience to know? You guys are so innovative in the way that your practice is structured. So, I think it's really unique how you're doing things there.
Thank you so much. Mark, how about you tell us more about Fitness for Health and what our mission is here?
All right. Thank you, Luke. So I'll just say this is that one, our dream or really when I first started Fitness for Health, the idea was really allowing anybody, whatever continuum of motor development they are, wherever they are from a social emotional standpoint, right? Our goal was to figure out a way that we're going to be able to tap into them, right? Is what what can we do to make it where that child, I'm going to make up a name, little John or Susie, they're able to understand it. And Luke will share with you, and we're really excited to have Luke because he's extremely creative and he really is perfect for the type of work that we do here. And but our biggest goal is this, and this is why we saw Floreo, is I'm constantly looking for technology because I think that kids today, or even young adults or adults, people like that high-tech stuff. And to me, Floreo was unbelievable because, and I love the stuff that you're doing with the AI stuff because I believe it is going to be the tool that will be really the gold standard to helping kids understand, to help them learn what, how do I, make friends, right? What do I do when I'm in a party of a bunch of people I don't know? The things with Florio is going to give them those tools, but it gives a therapist that's so awesome like Luke, again, just another tool that he can use on his tool belt to help incorporate that. But I think Luke could share with you on a practical sense how he uses it every day in his practice.
Thank you, Mark. Yeah, I'm gonna use it today, to be honest with you. I love Floreo. The thing that they have for these kids that I work with is truly amazing. I feel like for our scope of practice, it makes our job a little much easier because the way that these kids nowadays, of course, they're immersed and playing on their iPad, playing on the VR, but now they have an opportunity to not only be able to work on their self-regulation or their social participation skills or any type of social skills they have in one single thing. And it's super amazing. One experience I've had with it is using the crystal cave or crystal cove, I believe, yes. And I use it to help kids learn the different type of calming techniques that they have in there. I love how they have you open and close your hands, or you have to raise and lower your shoulders to get to another level. And I have clients now that try to use these techniques whenever they do any type of whenever they have any type of frustration during our sessions. So I always try to remind them what are our strategies, and they'll just and start going through the motions because they already know that and they've already experienced that. Another one that I really like to use is the one that John just showed us, the social bingo. That one is amazing. It's a really, really good interactive way for kids to really get to talk. But it's so cool that they have the bingo card because the bingo card helps them try to come up with different topics to talk to the peer. And I thought that part was so creative and really cool because it's so hard for kids to try to communicate and come up with different things to talk about. But now they have a entire sheet and a lot of options to choose from when it comes to interacting with the avatars that they have on there. And I thought that was really, really cool. I use the VR, the Florio, honestly, in all my sessions, and it's been super, super impactful for some of these kids because that's one of the first things they ask for when they come. Oh, can we do VR? Oh, can we do this? And I always have to say yes and give it to them.
I love that they're asking for it directly. That makes our
No,
day.
it's so cool. It's so cool.
So I don't mean to interrupt, and I definitely want to let you keep talking if you have more to say. But I want to remind the attendees that they are welcome to put questions into the Q&A for all of our three panelists to answer. And Mark, Luke, if you have questions that you want to ask of John, now is a good time to do that too. So feel free to ask questions, everyone. And Luke and Mark, if you want to keep talking about all the cool stuff that you guys are doing at Fitness for Health, then we would love to hear it. Our team actually took a site visit to Fitness for Health a couple of years ago, so we got to see firsthand all of the amazing things that they are doing over there in Rockville. So we're so grateful. We still talk about it at our all hands meetings about how wonderful that visit was. So feel free to ask questions, everyone who's here. Luke and Mark, if you have questions for John too, then
Okay, I'll start
feel free.
off. I have a question for John or an idea because I think Florio is awesome, and for the folks that are on this call that maybe don't have it, certainly look into it. It's one of those investments that I think will pay for itself over and over again. Like anything, look, I mean, the elephant in the room is yes, it's not an inexpensive entity, but I will tell you this, that I feel it's an essential cornerstone of someone's practice because this is something that you're going to be with all the time. But a question that I have for John and Heather, and you might be working on this. So in some of the storyline, the last thing that you were showing us where, the person comes in the room and you pick who they're going to talk to. Is there a way, and we can talk about this later offline, that we could force people to learn? I call it like personal inventory. So I'm going to meet Heather and I want to find everything out about Heather. Heather, what do you like to do? What do you like to eat? Da, 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 oh, I like pizza. Oh, so do I. Right. And so in my mind, I'm thinking like you had with the refrigerator, are you going to put the milk in the freezer and the fridge, right? And my thought is, when they meet somebody, maybe it comes up with the piece of paper or whatever, the list of what they just learned about the other person. Because one of the things that we notice, and by coincidence, both Luke and I, we both have two different patients, and we work with them together to simply, believe it or not, to learn something about each other. But it's basically the foundation to making friends, right? And when I was looking at your introduction from John, it just made me think, and I'm like, it would be so cool if there's a way that we could start forcing them to inventory, right? And then I'm going to make it up. Let's say someone says, "Oh, I know that Heather likes pizza." I said, "Well, Heather likes, I don't know, roast beef." No, it won't say no. Come on, you silly guy, or whatever. No, but maybe it will flash a little bit lightly, like giving the prompting them. No, they like pizza. Anyway, I'm just talking out loud. I'd have to flush it out, but I apologize for taking the time, but I just come up with this idea, but I just thought it would be cool.
No, we love your ideas. And I think it's worth noting too that a lot of our lessons are direct from customer ideas. So don't be shy. Mark, we always love to hear your ideas. John, I'll let you take that question, but also there's a question in the Q&A that kind of piggybacks off of that. So I'll ask it here too. Are there any lessons coming up that you guys are excited about? And I'll hold my answers so you can say what yours
Fair
is
enough.
first.
All right, let's start with Mark. Great idea. Most of my friends know that I take notes on them because my memory is garbage. So, um, anyway, I would say, first of all, you got to play teen social because the more you play it, the better you get at remembering what all the characters like and don't like and so on. And so that is in some ways a what did you call it? Social inventory. Um, Marsh is the clinician. I'm just the game designer, so I don't know the jargon. But that is gonna you're gonna be practicing that there. Um, and then secondly, I guess I'd take that and bring it back to that learner decision that we just showed you where you were inside putting milk away. Um, that's going to be one of the tools that we would need to build a lesson like that. Where you have you so right now what I'm trying to do, Floreo is trying to do is create more gameplay features to get these grander ideas into play. Um, yeah, I can't speak it to a timeline though, because a lot of customers have a lot of good ideas. Um, Moving on to Heather. Let's see, what was the question? Content we're excited about.
Yeah, the question from an anonymous attendee was, are there lessons coming up that you guys are excited about?
Real softball. I would say, don't be jealous, but Cuyahoga has a lesson coming up called we don't know, but the working title is Internet Safety. So here, this is more targeted toward younger teenagers, where they're learning about how to interact with people online, specifically how to spot, yellow flags, red flags with the way that they're being spoken to. And I'm not going to show it now, but there's going to be a whole conversation tree where you can figure out, what you want to say to this person, um, and then later the coach and you together can review kind of the consequences of your choices. Not the consequences, but like, here you said this, but did you notice that they were fishing for information in an inappropriate way or something like that? So yeah, that's the rest of the that avatar selection that you saw at the beginning. Um, so
So
that's one thing
I'll butt in because unfortunately Mark and Luke aren't as inside baseball as we are, knowing what actually the content team is working on. I am excited for the second in our series of water safety lessons. There's already one water safety lesson within Floreo, but our Fab content team is working on another one, and I can't wait to see it. So there's another question in the Q&A, and this one is for Mark and Luke. This person is curious to learn more about how Floreo is using AI. They know that there's an AI lesson, but Mark and Luke, do you like the AI lesson? Do any of the people that you work with like the AI lesson? That's sort of twofold.
Yeah, the AI lesson is really, I think it's a really, really good interactive way for not only the younger adults, but sometimes for the younger kids to, get to work with and talk to another peer. As of right now, yeah, I've been having a couple of younger kids. They've been super afraid of the AI because they see that the AI, the eyes don't blink. So they get super afraid or weirded out by the person not blinking. Some of the younger adults that I have, it's kind of hard for them to try to keep up with the AI at times. So I have to give them a little bit of cues on, hey, you should try to say this, or hey, try to use this term, or hey, think about this when you talk about them. So they can have that type of cue to say the right appropriate thing to the AI. But I feel like the AI is definitely a good interactive piece. I kind of want to ask John a question. If after this, I want to see what is the future for AI and therapeutic VR? How do you think it's going to translate soon?
Absolutely. And I uh, I knew you were going to ask that question, so I prepared an answer. Let me share my screen again, if I can just figure out how to do that. Great. Future of AI. We will be focusing on it, um, and and pure speculation here. Don't want to give out timelines, don't want to give out specific details, but we have been daydreaming about some features. So beyond just adding more characters than Jordan, Marcy's going to get retired. We are thinking of a few things, starting with this one. Just ignore the acronyms if you don't understand them. But one of the things that we've been trying to do is get the coach more involved. Um, and right now, the only way you can do it is, Luke, you have to jump in and say, hey, Jordan, like let's do this instead. And then Jordan, agrees. So we're going to be building toward that. Here you can just read this panel as for one way that might end up coming out, where because you have your what's it called, coach device, you'll be able to talk to this AI without even interrupting the learner's experience and like influence where it's going to go next. So that's one feature we're considering. And then let me just feed you one more. Along with blinking, okay? Blinking, heard. Add some blinking. Got it. We're going to try and get some emotions in there as well. So, you know, the AI seems to be pretty good at understanding how the sentence you just said what kind of reaction it might warrant. So we'll just add some facial expressions to these, plastic characters. And that way, I think that's going to make the experience more, I don't want to say human because we're a really long way from that, and it's probably for the best, but more expressive, more I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, that's my answer.
Awesome. And there's another question in the Q&A actually that kind of builds on this too. So in any of the lessons, is there an option for the coach on the iPad to give responses or to set up a scenario while in the lesson? So I can answer that, John, or you can, or Luke and Mark, maybe you've already done this in the AI lessons too, but one of the things that you can do that John just alluded to is you can prime the characters to take on a particular persona. So in the graphic that he was just sharing, it mentioned interviewing. You can actually ask Jordan or Marcy, although I guess she's officially being retired sometime soon, to take on the persona of an interviewer prior to starting the lesson with your learner. Jordan or Marcy will agree to take on that persona and they will interview the learner and ask them questions for that particular session. There are a lot of different ways that you can incorporate that taking on the persona aspect to more customize that lesson. You can ask Jordan and Marcy to play a game with you. You just have to give them the rules to the game and they will agree to play it with you. So things like naming off different states and cities based on the letter that it starts with or ends in. That's one of the things that we have on our YouTube channel, actually, if you want to see an example of it. But really, the sky is the limit as far as the creativity that you can put into those AI lessons. And Mark, Luke, I want to give you an opportunity to ask more questions if you have them, but we do have a bunch more in the Q&A too, if you all don't have any too, that's okay
I've
too.
got one quick question that came to my mind, and it might already be in there because I haven't seen all the lessons. Is there a lesson on like because many times Luke and the rest of our team will teach some of the patients that we have, cooking, right? How to fend for yourself when mom and dad are not home. And you might already have this, but is there any lessons like on safety in the kitchens and things that to be mindful of and not touching the stove. Anyway, just food for thought. But
Um, Safety in the kitchen. That is, if Marcia were here, I don't know if you know her, she would love to talk about this. That's been on her wish list for a while. And we are looking to build something that lets you, find all the knives and utensils and where does everything go and what do you do with each thing? So we've had that lesson planned for a while. We just, we're a small but mighty team, so can't say when that's going to be built, but rest assured that Floreo will build it at
that,
some point.
well, no, that's great. And then I'll leave you on this note. And for some of your folks that are on the webinar, but you maybe think of an idea and it might already be on your things to do. Wouldn't it be neat that at this time of the year, well, March, we've already passed it, but every March, a lot of students are getting ready to maybe look at other schools that they're looking at, and a lot of times they go to these schools and it's kind of scary, right? They're going in these classrooms of people they don't know. They might be asked questions from for their in their mind strangers, administrators, and I just thought it might be neat if there was a way to have a lesson that's kind of prepping them, getting them ready for your school interview or getting ready for your experience at a school that you might be looking at that mom and dad think that maybe would be a good school for you. My thought is, where you have some of these experiences happen, right? They walk in a classroom and people are talking and, anyway, food for thought. But
Um, we don't have something like that specifically, but I'm pretty sure you could try it with the AI, even feed it the specific school.
yeah,
Um, can't say I've tested it myself, but yeah.
Let's talk, Mark. I'd like to test that out with you. Maybe we can set up a call after this and try it out and together.
okay.
I want to go back to the Q&A for a moment. So there are a couple that I'm just going to answer right away because they're really easy. I'm gonna take all the easy questions. So you're welcome, panelists. So someone is asking how to purchase Floreo for their group home and also their family. You can reach out to us at info@floreovr.com. We'll be happy to connect you with the salesperson who covers your region if you're an organization. If you are looking for Floreo for a family member, you can subscribe to a monthly subscription directly from our website. But if you have questions about the subscription, then also email us at info@floreovr.com and we'll be happy to answer them. And there is another thing that I'm going to address right now because someone has said that they love that there are more life skills lessons coming. Yes, our Life Skills Academy launched a couple of months ago with our first food safety and storage lesson. So stay tuned. There's more to come there. You saw a little preview during John's presentation of that particular lesson, but our talented content team is working on more in that cohort of lessons too. So I'm going to go back to Luke with another question from the Q&A here, because this person specifically called you out, Luke. Can you share more about how you use Floreo in your work? How do you incorporate it into your therapy programs with your clients?
No problem, anonymous attendee. No problem. I use it in most of all the work that I do with some of the kids that have behavioral problems, individuals who have issues kind of communicating with others. I've used it with a client that had his first time going to an airport, and there's a cool function on the Floreo where you get to work with TSA agents and get to work in that environment of being at the airport. It's so cool. You hear all the dings and people talking on the intercom that they have in there, and it's super cool. I think that I try to use it mostly when it comes to individuals that have regulation issues. I feel like the Florio has a great set of games and different environments that you can be placed in. So you can not only work on calming down, but they have a lot of different techniques that they can give you so the individual can learn themselves how to self-regulate. Yeah, I try to use it every day as much as possible.
And Heather, I'm sure Luke won't mind me saying this. Look, he would be happy, or any of the other team using it, if one of your folks today, an hour from now or 3 days from now, they have a question or an idea. We're happy to help any of your folks to learn how to integrate it. We feel very fortunate to be at the beginning of Florida when you first came out, and so anything that we can do to help others to learn how to integrate it. But Luke is really one of our best on the team. He knows it inside and out.
Thank you, Mark. That is so kind of you. I'm getting a little bit emotional that, I just think that it's really amazing that you are offering to help other folks who are thinking about implementing Floreo. It's really, really special. It's just representative of who you guys are. I always knew you were special, but thank you for sharing that with everyone in the audience too. So another question, Luke, maybe John, and maybe Mark. There is a question from a parent in the Q&A. How does the program address social anxiety rather than just learn the skills? This person's son has the skills but doesn't use them because of social anxiety. The words that he says are, "I don't want to be humiliated." Is this something that Floreo can address or helps with?
Well, 1000%. I feel like the Florio, especially when it comes to the I feel like the AI is a great feature for your son to use so he can be able to practice these type of situations. I feel like I understand like he doesn't want to be humiliated because he doesn't want to say the wrong thing. But I feel like with the Florio, this is a great opportunity for him to not only practice these interactions, but to get better with them. And so when he gets these interactions, they're just flying off. So he's able to just say them quickly because he's already rehearsed it, and being able to not only talk about it, be able to engage in that eye gaze with that interaction with the other individual. I feel like that's a huge huge, impactful thing for kids nowadays to work on, because nowadays kids are just looking down at their phone or their iPad and not really gauging and looking at each other nowadays. So I feel like this is a perfect tool for yourself.
And if I could, and Luke would probably agree. So to this person that asked the question is, in my thought, I'm thinking just like Luke said, take the Floreo, take the AI, and have your son or daughter work with it, and then from there, now what we're going to do is slowly integrate them into real life situations, right? So you go from A to B, because look, a lot of it is just repetition, right? Because we all have challenges, even me as an old man at 64. Look, we all have challenges, but the key is that you're taking on these challenges and we get exposure. So call it exposure therapy. But that's where I think Floreo's awesome, right? You start with Floreo, it's gentle, right? It's you're talking to it, no one's going to judge you, and then you slowly take it from there and integrate them into real life situations. But Luke could tell you himself because he does that a lot. And like I was telling you with this particular group that we're doing together, is I know he's done that with this young man, and then now we're incorporating, real life situations. Anyway, food for thought.
Awesome. So another question that I'm gonna Bogart over here. Do you have a social story to share that helps introduce Floreo? So yes, Floreo does have a social story. We call it our introductory comic book. It's over in the Learning Center on our website. It's publicly available. But Luke, Mark, how do you introduce Floreo? I'm going to take this person's question and turn it on itself. How do you introduce Floreo to your clients for the first time?
Well, nowadays, a lot of kids really don't have VR headsets or, the Oculus VR that's really popular right now. So I just try to introduce it as, hey, have you ever played with the VR before? And they're like, no, I've never done this before. Oh my God. And then they, it's so much excitement, and I try to bring it as something that they've never done before. I try to bring it and try to tell them some of the things that they're going to be doing, like, oh, would you like to see gorillas, or would you like to swim with dolphins, or would you like to look among the mountains and see cool things? And this is something that they've never seen before. So I try to hype them up for it and try to get them excited for something that they've never seen before. But for some of the kids that have seen and been immersed in VR before, I try to break it down for them. All right, so this is the type of lesson that we're going to be doing. You might be seeing this, you might see that, you might have to interact with this individual. So just be prepared for what you might see. So especially with the young adults, they're always like, they're always excited. They really want to get immersed into VR, especially with the Oculus version of the Floreo that we have. It's a really, really cool experience for them.
Awesome. That's fantastic. Okay, John, I think this one's coming at you because I can't Bogart this one. So can you say more about your plans for enabling customized avatar creation by the learner? Does that help build confidence in the lessons?
Yeah, I was looking at that and I wasn't sure what building confidence in the lessons meant. But
I think maybe it was a typo. Maybe it means build confidence for learners.
fair, fair, fair. The plans, you saw them. They're in motion. We have to start simple because just the reality of our company, the amount of resources we have. So we went with the options that you've already seen. And then I think depending on the response and depending on our resources, we'll keep going. I think something that we are considering is to maybe more seriously think about, sorry, there's a general word that includes like wheelchairs and like other classes of mobility devices, right? So that could be part of the avatar in the future. But yeah, I can't speak to exactly why psychologically this is important. Just that universally we all choose our clothes in the morning, and most of us, and that the way that we look is an important part of the experience, whether it's your Slack icon or the VR experience at Floreo. I don't know. Hope that covers it, Greg.
Great. Thanks, John. A couple more questions, and again, encouraging the audience to put more questions in the Q&A because these have all been great so far. What are some ways in which you set up and measure success through these experiences and lessons? So John, if you want to talk specifically to how Floreo has set up success and how we measure it, and then Luke and Mark, maybe you can talk about what you consider success in your sessions.
You know what? Let's have them go first. That way I'll know how the questions define a little better.
Okay.
I consider success in the session when the client just takes off the headset and they have a smile on their face. I think that's the best feeling ever, especially when it comes to the interacting with peers. I feel like that's the coolest type of moment when, especially when they do like the magic mix and they're like, oh my God, I got to make the unicorn or the phoenix. Oh my goodness, did you get to see that, Mr. Luca? Yeah, I saw it on the iPad. So I definitely get to love those type of moments when you get to see a smile on their face from, immersing themselves in the VR and getting something good out of it.
You know what, I'll add to that, from my standpoint, what is success? So when you have a parent tell you that their son and daughter, when they had a small, cocktail party or a dinner for some of their friends, that their son or their daughter was feeling a little bit more confident and to engage with the guests. And to me, that's a home run. And when you have folks like Luke, who is excellent at working with the children, and the rest of our team also is, and then you use a device like Floreo, which is really incredible, and then you start seeing it in real life situations. And that, to me, to answer your question, that is great success.
Sure, I can go next. Good to see your name, Varun. We've got your emails. I think we just got some great qualitative answers, but maybe to dive back into reckless speculation, I want to say that we've got some plans for the way that we collect data and what we do with it. So get some more quantitative answers to these kinds of questions. And I think what we're going to move toward is focusing on measuring improvement and also focusing on just measuring more, just being able to get everything we can out of a lesson in terms of data. And then that way, maybe being able to figure out what to do with it. That plus, can't speak to a timeline, but maybe incorporating what the coach might have to say about the experience post lesson. You'll be seeing in the next quarter, there's going to be a big redesign of the coach experience itself. And that's going to open the door to really start to focus on the coach experience, which is going to help answer these kinds of these questions of like, is the learner getting better? How can I prove it to, the people who are asking those questions? Yeah, I don't know how much I'm allowed to say, so I'll just cut myself off there.
Hey, John, I've got a quick question, and it might already be being worked on. Is there a way to eventually that you can actually superimpose or actually put an actual person's face on, let's say, on the AI or whatever, could be an actual person that they have to have contact with anyway?
I hear you. Not today. It's too Silence of the Lambs-ish. Give it like 5 years. Floreo's not going to be developing that technology, but give it a little while longer. I don't know if you're familiar with the uncanny valley effect, where something just a cute little robot, then it's totally harmless. But then if it just looks almost human,
Yeah.
something in our little lizard brains just triggers a fear
I
response. So
got
we don't staple faces onto
I
computer
got
cameras just
And
yet. But
last question is, and I'll keep quiet for the rest of the thing.
no,
Are there any lessons currently, and maybe there is, on people being exposed to animals, pets? How do you respond if you're walking with mom and dad and you see a dog and you want to pet it? Or how do you, you know, what's the, certain behaviors or how you should act?
um, we've got a new video coming out called Pets and Friends that might have something to do with it. And then there's all these wild immersion videos that we can watch. Right now, we kind of leave it to the coach to, reinforce the safety aspect of it. So that's what we have so far. Yeah.
Yes, but again, we do love customer suggestions. So I know our content team is frantically taking notes as they're listening to this now or in the future. Okay, there's another question in the Q&A, and before I read it out, I just wanted to say that I did not think we were going to get any Silence of the Lambs references in today's webinar, so
That's what
thanks
I
for
was
that,
saying.
John.
Oh man.
So this person says, I love what I'm learning about Floreo. My child would love this, but is sensitive to sounds and stimulation. John, do you think about this when you're developing lessons? And Luke, do you find that any of the kids that you work with get sensory overload or overstimulated when using Floreo?
Yeah, I'll just go first. I can answer it quickly. So the answer is yes. And the very first way you can do that is by changing the volume on your device. But we also offer, some lessons we offer like maybe there's more people or there's more things going on, and then there's kind of an analog to that lesson where it's just less. You're just focusing on the lesson objective, and there's fewer distractions. And then back to speculating about the future, we are going to be adding in learner preferences. So this is going to not just be this will include sound sensitivity, but it'll also maybe include things like font size for the stuff you have to read, and just the volume of various things, like the main lesson of like who you're talking to, and then all the background noise. Like that might be something we consider. I lost the question. It went away. Yeah. So that's Floreo's future. I can't say that we've solved it perfectly just yet, but we certainly try.
And yes, I have had a lot of kids get overstimulated or had a sensory overload, especially when they're having the wildlife immersion. Oh my goodness, I've seen a lot of kids just get freaked out by seeing a bear and having to tell the kids. And this is where we get to use our calming strategies on how to calm down and relax. And it's not real. But I love how they have different, like John was saying, how you can turn down the volume and you can also change the situation and environment that they're in, how it can be really busy and then how it cannot be busy at all. So you can definitely make customizations in the Floreo for sure.
Awesome. Okay, so the next question is a lot of questions. So I'm going to try to break it up here and ask it a little bit at a time. And so I'm going to start with the first. Does Floreo use haptics to provide feedback or reinforcement for the learners? John?
Sure. Right now, no. Primarily Floreo because we want to make sure we get to target younger people. It's a cardboard device, so we have not really focused on the hand controller aspect of the product.
Are we
Sorry.
going to do that in the future?
Are we going to do that in the future? I I think for the most part, we're going to focus on audio and visual feedback, and then haptic feedback. I would love to add it. I think I can't promise anything though. We have to add in the hand controllers first.
And a couple more questions about Floreo's future plans. Are there plans to add gamification, like achievements or streaks, to motivate practice and mastery?
That's a question we've talked about a lot. It hasn't quite made it to the front of the list, but definitely known by gamers for decades now that helps motivate a certain type of gamer a lot. Um, so we don't have that, but one thing I could maybe point to is Marsha's Coach Resource Hub, where she's generated a lot of physical rewards, things you can print out. So nothing's stopping you from making those the rewards for, performance. But in terms of what we're doing right now with the rewards, we're thinking about the best way to implement it. We're considering expanding the lobby and then having that be a place where you can, maybe gifts that you can give to NPCs. But again, can't, don't, that's not the official. So yeah, that's where we're at with that.
And next in this question of questions, do we have any lessons that address executive functioning? So I'll take that one, another softball. I'm going to take them all. We do have lessons that address executive functioning skills, including our skill categories, like our emotional regulation skill category, our focusing skill category, our responding to auditory information skill category. And you can definitely find different opportunities within many of our lessons to practice different skills outside of the designed objectives that John and our content team designed the lessons to work on. Plenty of opportunities for you to be creative and use them in different ways too. Okay, so next, still this one question. How easy is it to customize lessons? And she's asking because autistic learners often have specific topics of deep interest that really motivate them. So John, you want to take that one?
I can. I feel like Luke might do a better job with it though.
All right. How about it, Luke?
Maybe talking about AI, I guess.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, yeah, you can customize it in multiple different ways. It just depends on the way that you want the lesson to go. You can definitely change it when it comes to, and I like the one lesson where you have to differentiate between going to one table or another table. There's a group of happy people, and there's one person that's sitting by himself, and he is giving you an angry face. So you can customize it to yourself and make it seem like, okay, you're gonna go this way, and you can experience how you're gonna be with this angry individual, and then you can change it back to the other way where you can be like, okay, do you understand how it is to be with a whole group of people who are smiling and love your face, like are interacting with you? So you can definitely customize it into many ways, and especially with the AI as well, for sure.
And next question. This is something that we've talked about, but it is not something that's possible right now. Is there a way for multiple remote learners to join a lesson together? So we talk about this periodically, and by we I mean the content team, and I am tangentially involved occasionally. So John, why don't you talk a little bit about kind of what we found when we've investigated this in the past?
Yeah, this is, if you have this question for us same time next year, we'll have a much more mature answer to this question. I think having group activities will be a big win for Floreo. It's just going to require a fundamental shift in the architecture of how it's built. And there's no lack of willingness to do something like that, but we do need to significantly invest in it. Ask me the same thing in 2026 and we'll see.
I like that answer. And then as far as the next couple of questions, are we collaborating with any specific therapeutic programs like social thinking or Hanon speech? This would be a great question for our director of therapy content. You've heard her name mentioned a couple of times here today. Her name's Marsha. She is a BCBA and also former special education teacher. And I don't know off the top of my head. I don't believe that we are tied into any specific program. But John, correct me if I'm wrong or if you know better than I do. Okay,
I don't
so
know.
I encourage you to reach out to us at info@floreovr.com, and we will ask our director of therapy content to get you an answer to that. And one more question, and this is the marathon question of questions here. So have you explored connecting Floreo with AAC devices or apps to help nonverbal learners to participate in simulations that more closely mirror how they communicate in real life?
Mhm. Yeah, I like that question a lot. That's one of Marcia's ideas is to, I don't know what it's called. I'm not a clinician. I'm just the person who tries to make things fun. But there's basically a grid of objects, like, I don't know, yes, no, apple, orange, maybe. And by looking at them, you can signal your intention. And I forget what that's called, but we are thinking about adding one in so that nonverbal learners can communicate in the lessons in the way that they might use one of these charts. Anyone chime in with what that's called? Works for me. But yeah, and that would just be integrated into the lesson itself and just be part of the learner preferences, whether you want a feature like that on or off. Again, can't say when we're going to build it, but if enough customers clamor for it, it will happen.
I like that theme. So I'm not seeing any other questions in the Q&A, but I want to give our lovely panelists an opportunity to give some closing remarks if they have them. And also thank you all so much for being part of our panel. Thank you to the audience for attending and all of your great questions. Why don't I start with you, Luke?
Thank you for inviting me, guys. It's been truly an honor to be in front of all these participants today. Floreo is a really, really great, innovative system that I feel like all of my clients have really benefited from, and all the new clients that I will receive that will benefit from this. I feel like it's a super creative way to get them interactive and get them out of this enclosed space that they're in and really get to open their mind to all the opportunities that they have in the virtual world and in the real world.
Can we quote you on that?
Oh, yeah, I'll take it. I'll take
You
it.
know I'm going to clip that part of this webinar and put it
I'll
all
take
over
it.
everything, right?
I'll take
I'll give you credit. Mark, how about you? Do you have anything else you want to let the
No,
audience know?
as to piggyback on what Luke said, that we appreciate it and really was an honor also to be here. And I'll just reiterate it. For anybody who's local, obviously in our area, look, I'm happy they can even call us, and we would be happy to set up a time for them to come over, and we could show them the Floreo and stuff. Look, we want people to understand everything, the power of Floreo and what it could do for their sons or their daughter. So we want to thank you, Heather and John, for giving us this opportunity. So thank you.
Thank you, Mark. John, you want to throw in another Silence of the Lambs reference?
I'd love to, but
Okay.
I can't think of one that's funny or relevant. Um, I just like to say thanks so much for inviting me and for making this happen. If you have questions about how it's built or how we are trying to, how we try to make this happen, I'd be happy to answer them by email. Um, and yeah, I appreciate you giving me the chance to, be on camera.
Yeah, thank you all so much. This was wonderful. I learned a ton today too, so I really appreciate you all taking the time. Those of you in the audience, if you do have questions after the call, please reach out to us at info@floreovr.com. We'll connect you with the right person, depending on your question. Also wanted to just add a clarifying remark because I answered a question about a subscription earlier. When you have a Floreo subscription, you have access to all of our content library and any lessons that we put out during the course of your subscription. So all of the cool stuff that John was talking about that's coming soon, the water safety lesson, also the lesson that we're developing with Cuyahoga County Board of Developmental Disabilities. All of that will be available to our entire customer base in the future as well. So we'd love to hear from you if you're interested in moving forward with your own Floreo program, and please don't be shy about reaching out. And thank you again, all you wonderful panelists. So glad that you could join us with our audience today, and looking forward to talking to you more in the future.
Anytime.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.